we're going to be using OpenAI Assistance. OpenAI Assistance is different than ChatGPT. OpenAI Assistance is their API tool. It works very similar to how ChatGPT works. Specifically, if you've ever built a custom GPT in ChatGPT, it's essentially the API version of that. We outfit the API calls with whatever docs and knowledge base information we want. So any prompt we want, we can build into the assistant itself. And then what we're going to do is we're going to call the assistant from the make scenario. So in this case, we're going to log in or we'll have to sign up. All right. So I'm going to be in my dashboard to start. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to create an API key that I can connect directly to Make. So we're going to come over here to the settings section and go down to API keys. And we're going to create a brand new secret key. I'm going to give it a name and select the project. And I'm going to create my secret key. Now I'm going to copy that. I'm going to save it in another doc or reference later because we will need it for connecting it to OpenAI, or I'm sorry, to Make. Now, done there. So I come back to my dashboard. Now I can go in and start creating assistants. And the way the OpenAI integration works with Make is you create and define an assistant, and you're just going to select the assistant from a dropdown. Now, to do that, we're going to go over to Playground, and then you're going to come over here on the left-hand side and select Assistants. Now, in this case, I don't have any API credits purchased. You actually have to preload money to get access to the API credits. So we'll select that, add payment details. We'll skip through this part. All right, I've gone in and I've added $10 worth of credits. That will actually last you quite a bit. You can always add more at any point. But let's go back to my Playground. And now I have the ability to start adding in and creating these assistants. So I'm going to jump over to Playground just so I didn't go too fast there. Go to Assistants on the left, and I'm going to create an assistant. I'm going to give it a name. Let's call this one. Actually, we're going to set up two default assistants here because we're going to call these each time. And the way assistants work is you can build out the full prompt directly within these assistants, and you don't have to add anything on the make side to call it. But in this case, we're just going to do something very, very basic. So return text only. And this will make more sense when we go into and start building out these things in the scenarios. And we'll call this text only. And we'll select the model. You could choose from all the different variations. Each of them has a different price point. So the number of calls or whatever it is, the number of tokens, I just really tend to go with the 4.0, but you can select it based on whatever you're comfortable from a price point perspective. And then the bottom here, we're going to select text. We want to make sure that this is text and not JSON. JSON is going to return a different object as a structured format. We won't get too much into that in this course, but those are valuable for different types of automations that you may be running. So that's it. That's all we need to do on that end. So go back to assistants. And then the next one we're going to create is a return HTML. And the idea with this is there's going to be certain times where we're going to need the text that we create to be structured in a HTML format. For example, when we save blog content to a Google Doc, for it to be formatted properly on the Google Doc, it actually has to be structured in an HTML format so that it's done. Now, you don't need to know a lick of HTML code to be able to do this because we're going to have this prompt set up so that when it does get called, anything it's sent, it will format it properly and return the fully HTML coded content back. So I've got my prompt that I want to add to this specific assistant, and you'll receive markdown text. Your job is to structure this text into HTML format so it can be applied to a Google Doc. This will be provided as part of the course materials, so you'll have this at your disposal. But really, that's all we need. That's all. We don't need to update any other settings here. So now we have our two. I'm not sure why I called this test. I should be text only. But now we've got our two assistants that are ready to go, and we will reference those from within Make. So let's go back into Make, And now we're going to add a new option here. We're going to look for OpenAI and select it. And we're going to message assistant. This is the one, really the only one we're going to use because we want to message the assistants that we just created. So we'll select that. And now we need to create the connection. So we'll call this playthrough connection. And that API key that we got earlier when we created this thing, when we set up the assistant, we're going to copy that, drop that right in there. And then we don't necessarily need the organization ID. The API key will be fine, and hit save. Never trust that. And now we're good to go. And what you'll see here is we have the option for assistant, and then you can see those two assistants that we just created. And so we'll select the assistant based on the type of task or operation we need done. And then we'll build out the prompt below